Hi everyone! We're getting set up for our 5 p.m. final conversation. Give us a couple seconds. Let's see. Okay.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. We got the red lip going on today. Power color.
Yes.
Power color. How you doing?
Yes. Good. How are you?
Fabulous, as always. Trying to be fabulous. Trying to keep it together.
How was your last week? We haven't talked since last week.
Yeah. My last week's been good. I have a good start to the day today. Getting ready for my next edition, I'll call it, of HR office hours. It's happening again on Thursday, so this will be my third one. And yeah, so just getting everything set up for that, writing the email. It's going out tomorrow to my list for people to get invited so they can sign up and get some really fabulous HR advice. So that's been my day so far. Can't complain. How about you? What you been up to?
Good. It feels like a blur. So much has happened, but I think that's always me every week.
Deja vu on that.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. So my parents are visiting, so
Nice.
that's always nice.
Yeah.
Kind of makes the days go even faster.
Yeah.
Always something to do. Really great cooking.
That's the best thing I think of having your parents around, or I was gonna say your mom, but sometimes the dad. I don't know if in parents, if the dad is usually the cook. Maybe that's like our generation, but at
Yeah.
least in my house, it was more my mom than my dad. But yeah, you get some stuff that you probably would never take the time to actually make, but you love eating, right?
Yeah. I want to say hi to Giselle, Jose, Bruce.
Hello.
Welcome. So yeah, no, it was a good week. Made a lot of progress in a lot of different areas. We have
Excellent.
a foundation.
Excellent.
Uh, so have been working really hard on um, moving forward with our first grantee.
What's that?
And so essentially, we are through the Morua Power Foundation, we are lending our services to companies that are ready to scale.
Hmm.
And what I mean by ready to scale, they're companies that are in the energy sector that are also affecting communities directly,
Mm-hmm.
and that they're ready to scale their efforts.
Cool.
So there's a lot of different things they need to do that, resources, help to be able to duplicate their efforts. We help to provide a plethora of services, including engineering consulting services, to help them
Hmm.
get to the level.
Awesome.
So yeah. So we've been really busy with that, and really happy with the Power a Nation initiative that we're working on. And for all those listening, you're going to get to hear more about that later. But essentially, when we give to Power a Nation, you can adopt a village and you can really affect the lives of millions of people. Not just by donating money for specific needs, but by really creating the platform and the foundation to help them get to the next level financially, or get the whole community to be get to the next level socioeconomically. So
Cool.
yeah,
That's
that's what we've been
awesome.
working on.
Girl, you need to talk
Yeah,
more about that stuff. Like that's major, I think. Don't you think?
it is.
It's
I think.
huge.
I mean, I that's what I do. Every day I'm working with businesses and partners that want to be a part of that kind of global movement.
Mm-hmm.
And we're even working with companies in Canada at this point to launch. Yeah.
A shout out for my fellow Canadians. Oh yeah, we are friends. We are friends.
Yes. So yeah, one of the partner companies is Quimley, and they're the global dance network. And so that's been amazing, just because they've already been involved in developing the contribution initiatives, and so it was just the perfect time to partner, since we already had something going, and it's something that really we both had in our heart to give the same way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to
Hi,
Janine. Hi, Janine. We said that at the same time.
I know.
What's up, J Money? How are you? Good to see you, girl. Good to see you. What am I doing?
Awesome.
I was trying to share this thing out, but I'm feeling like I'm getting an error message. Maybe just check on your end too that it's actually, I guess if Janine can see us, then it's probably fine. But I'm getting an error message on my end that it's having trouble playing the video.
Okay, so that happens sometimes. I think you just refresh it a couple times, because it
Yeah.
happened to me. But I do see it online.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, I tried to
confirm.
refresh a few times, but I can't see it, but it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. So, what are we talking about today? We've got I think a good juicy topic that fits with your world, fits with my world.
Yeah, so today's topic is around, I want to get the title right,
Yeah.
exactly how we had it. How can I ask for more money now?
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And I actually got some feedback about that one from a couple of people that saw the title come up, and they were like, ooh, I'm just in the middle of either negotiations, or
Mm-hmm.
that's a really good one. Like, I really need to hear that one. So
Yeah.
So we definitely wanted you to have a conversation, and let us know what your experience has been with asking for more money. And honestly, this spans the gamut. It can be in a job that you currently have. It could be for, a client that you have. What has been your experience with money mindset and asking for more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'd love to hear that from anyone who's watching, and just your experience with I think with the just sometimes just the idea of like we want it. It's not like we don't want to have more or can see the things that we would do if we had more, but sometimes just the idea or the thought of having to ask for it feels vulnerable, it feels risky, it feels like all of these things, and we end up not doing it. But I think from the perspective of business or from the perspective of your career path and being an not asking to me is like the biggest, I don't know if I would I call it a mistake. I don't know, the biggest maybe block that we have, and that's where it all starts. If you if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. So that's kind of key, I think. I think that's really important, just to be able to remember and to see that if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. I think that's kind of
Yeah.
plain and simple. No? Would you agree?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. And I think there's definitely, how you grew up, and
Mm-hmm.
culturally that can affect what your mindset is around, like, how you approach money
Yeah.
and how you approach asking for more.
Yeah.
So that's a conversation I've had with a lot of friends, because at a very early point in my career, I had a really great mentor that, with so much certainty, would be like, you need to ask for double.
Mm.
And I would have never thought about it at that time, but I started, really embodying what she was saying, and I was like, you know what, she's right, I can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're not going to lose anything. You're still going to show that you really care about the job and that you want to be a part of what they're doing. But I'm going to go ahead and ask for double whatever I had before.
Yeah.
And I did. And of course, the first respond, it was a person that was older, you know, and so there was like a certain mindset and also engineering and women in engineering. And I remember he kind of he didn't expect it.
Joker. What?
Yeah. But then he was curious. He was curious because it really showed confidence in my skill set. And, you know, and I was like, I'm a fast learner, you know, and yeah, and I got it. So within the first couple of years,
awesome.
First couple of years of my career, I doubled my salary and, you know, continued to move forward. And so I wanted to say a statistic about that, actually. So it says here, male versus female statistics in the workplace in America. In the fourth quarter of 2017, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the median salary for men was $946 compared to $669 for women. Women earned 81.3% of the median salary for men. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting.
And sorry, did you say when, like what time frame that was?
It was in the fourth quarter of 2017.
Okay, so just a couple years ago. Yeah, okay.
That was reported. I'm sure we can get more. There's gender gap statistics I was looking up online for 2020. So there's even, you know, more updated information. But I just wanted to do a quick lookup, and that's the first thing that showed up. And I thought, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And being a manager and seeing how women and men account for their time is interesting.
How so?
So, for example, I noticed that for men, and again, this is completely general, like I am all about like equality all around, but just the mindset was different. Like if I'm in the shower and I'm thinking about like an idea for work, you know, it's like accounting for that time. Like, oh no, I'm like, oh, that's okay, right? It doesn't matter that I'm in the car. And I know everybody and every company does that differently, but it was really interesting to see how men always had recorded longer hours than the women did, when I knew specifically like what their level of effort was.
That's super fascinating. You know, I think that also speaks to value, you know, and the value that we place on our ideas, on our time, on what's involved with creating a thing or creating a result or having an impact. That it's not just, you know, the 60 minutes in the office or in the meeting, but it's, and I was in HR office hours last week, so actually we were talking about this. It's also the relationship, right? And all of the effort and time spent outside of that, you know, that specific decision point, building that relationship, and that's what allows the impact or the result to be created, right? When there's that connection, the work happens so much more smoothly than if, you know, that connection isn't there. So all of that time goes into creating the value, creating the impact, and it's worth something. It's not free, right? It's super, super interesting the way that we think about that, and this idea of worth and contribution, how that tallies up to the thing that actually happens at the end. Yeah. Interesting. Fascinating.
Something to think about.
Indeed.
I want to know, for those that are listening now and those that will come back to listen, if you have seen that in your workplace, where maybe you had a conversation with someone later on and realized that the same position that you had maybe was paid differently. You know, whether it was you know, men or women, and just how that, if you found any differences in your career,
Mm.
right, in terms of pay. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because we're talking about worth, self-worth, and we're talking about asking for more money. So what is it that we're thinking about, right, when we're approaching it?
And I think those two things are really closely linked together. This idea of value that I put on my skills, or you know, my ideas, or whatever those intangibles, I think too. And it's not necessarily a pencil that I produce that I could say this costs, you know, $2, but it's all of the intangibles that go into that thing. And you know, I've spent 20 years building up the experience to be able to have this conversation and create this impact and this result in 2 meetings. Right? It's not just those 2 meetings. It's I've gone to school, I've worked in these 5 places, I've done these projects. Like, it's all of that cumulative experience that comes together when you're in that negotiation and have the opportunity to ask for that money, right? It's being able to see how all of those different things come together in that moment. And I don't know that I think as women, you know, sometimes a generalization, but I don't know that we always think about it or see it in that way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I want you to tell us, Cindy, as a superstar HR.
Say more, say more. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
She is. She is. I do want to hear more. I'm so curious about your experience in HR. And, you know, we're here talking about this topic. There's people listening that own businesses that maybe are in HR, or people that are waiting, you know, and have been wanting a raise in their job. So I'd like to hear both sides, because I know that you're helping coach women, right? On the other side of things, but you also were on the HR side and you were hiring people. So
Yeah.
So how would you think about it in terms of, okay, asking for more money? Like, did you ever get anybody that did? And what was your perception? What was the company's perception? And then also, what kind of advice, you know, are you given based on your experience to the women as they're wanting to ask for more?
Yeah, yeah, I'm happy to share some thoughts on that. I think from the HR side of things, like I'm going to share like all the secrets, but from the HR side of things, like when we are putting together an offer letter, and obviously it has a number attached to it, you know, there's a bunch of things that we would look at to figure out what's the right number for that person, for this job, for the situation, and you know, all of those things. And I would say that one of the things that we keep in mind is you know, there's this moment in time where this person's getting hired, but we also think about the future and just having enough runway within, you know, let's imagine the person's in that job for however many years, let's say 5 years, that there's enough runway within the salary ranges that are established in the company for them not to max out. Right? So our initial number may be a little bit on the low, I don't know if lower is the right word, but maybe it won't necessarily be at the high end, because then there's no space. There's no space for that person to grow, and that's an important consideration for us to keep in mind. So that's one thing I think, just to be aware of, that there's often some room for negotiation because we have that structure that we're working within. I would also say that as the person who is receiving the offer letter, the candidate, the employee, potential employee, the best time to have that negotiation for your salary is at that time of offer. Before you sign, you're in the best position to make that ask for more money, and they can always say no, and that's within the company's right. That's fine. But the best position that you're in is in that moment when they want you and you want them. Right? And you can likely get some, even if not on actual base of like total compensation, that's the best leverage that you have to be able to make the ask and likely get something in return. So you're hired and you start to feel a little salty about how much you're making, it's much harder, right? It's much harder to negotiate, I think, in my experience, because by that point you are sitting inside of a compensation structure that is in there and in place for a reason. It's designed ideally, in a good workplace, it's designed to create equity and fairness and how roles are compensated and how people fit within the overall structure. So to make, big shifts, unless you're changing jobs and having a significant increase in responsibility, changing your salary at that point is, those are a couple of thoughts that I would offer on that. But I would say ask, right? You got nothing to lose. Ask the question, and know what your number is, know what you want, and see what happens.
I agree. And nowadays we have more information online that allows
Mm-hmm.
you to see what the ranges are for your area where you live and the number of years of experience, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
that gives you a little bit more negotiation power.
Yeah, totally. Totally, totally. I think it's an interesting dance. I think on both sides of the negotiation, it's an interesting dance, but it's not one that I think we should be afraid of. And I think we should open the door if they don't say something, and they probably won't, like they put their offer out and, hope that you accept. But I don't think we should be afraid of it. Try it. I say
It's
try it, see what happens. Why not?
it's it's true. And the other pointer I would give is if you're asking for more money, if you're asking it of a business, and a business entity is there to do business.
Mm-hmm.
And part of business is
Mm-hmm.
negotiation. So I think seeing that you're valuing yourself and that you're willing to negotiate and you're willing to say, I think I'm worth this, and be able to a negotiation is about both parties winning,
Mm-hmm.
and approaching it that way. I think if the institution is able to really appreciate that kind of negotiation and the way that you approach it, like you could be even more valued
Mm-hmm.
as a result,
Mm-hmm.
as someone that is going to be able to do negotiations for the business itself.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're engineering parts, or you're trying to negotiate a whole new initiative, within a group of stakeholders, or
Mm-hmm.
like whatever role you play. I think that showing that initiative at the beginning, that you're willing to negotiate and you understand your value,
Mm-hmm.
will also transfer to the qualities that you're able to bring to the business.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Like it sets the tone for the relationship, right? At least,
Mm-hmm.
and the brand. I talk about brand, your professional brand all the time, and it sets the tone for how you want them to perceive you and how they will perceive you. And it doesn't have to be, like arm wrestling on the table. It doesn't have to be that kind of energy around it. It can be something that is, to your point, very win-win, and is, all of it could have all the good feels to it as well. It doesn't have to be something that's combative and, that doesn't feel good at the same time. So it can work.
Exactly. It's true.
Hmm.
Yep.
It can work.
And you have to feel comfortable also.
You have to, I think, get comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable, get comfortable. Like, figure it out. Figure it
Call
out.
friends, practice, do what you need.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. And how about
Yeah.
in your world, like when it comes to negotiating contracts, or, requesting funding, or doing a proposal to get a grant, or whatever the case may be, does it work the same way in your world, do you think?
It does. I think there is in certain markets, there's a standard. Um, but even within the standard, uh, really understanding the problem and what you're trying to solve,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the negotiation really starts. Like if you really understand what it is you can help with,
Mm-hmm.
and what that's valued at, and how much you can save the client,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's how I always see it when I'm doing proposals, offers, etc. I'm thinking about, they're going to pay me this, but they're going to save at least 5 times as much as what they're paying.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how I always look at it. And so I know that and actually, I think Louise Hay or somebody has this affirmation about, just when you're paying bills or when you're paying something, like, you're so happy because, like, this will be returned to me
Right, right.
twofold. Like, I really put that into it, and energetically, when I'm putting a proposal. It's like, I'm asking this, but you're gonna get in return like 10 times as much as what you're putting in, because we're gonna do everything possible to make sure that the result, and that you get results and success doing what it is you're doing. And so that's for us, it just depends on the type of contract, the level of effort, how many people, the complexity. So it's a little bit different, I think, with contracts. Each one is very different. And you have to be comfortable and confident and show past performance that, hey, this really is worth this much, been compensated before, and kind of, it's a little bit more structured in a way, but you do have to feel confident, especially when you start off your business.
Yeah.
I remember how that felt at the beginning. It was like, okay, like, where do
I don't want to do it.
It's like, where do I start? I'm like, I just want to help you.
I want to
help you.
Yeah. I just want the job. Just hire me. Yeah, it's the same. It's the same like experience, just different worlds, right?
It is. It's a different process, and but you still have to put yourself out there, and you have to be what that is. I always, anytime I put rates together, I'm very, I guess, engineering like in that sense. I have formula after formula and Excel sheets, just to really, because I really want to feel comfortable, like, and this is really what it is going to take.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the absolute best rate, that we can give and that you're going to get in the market. Because that's the other thing. You're comparing it, when it comes to business, you're comparing it, to different, you have many businesses competing for a similar, contract. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that idea of okay, you're paying me X amount, whatever that is, and here's the value that you, employer or company or client, are going to get in return. And I think at the end of the day, to me, whichever scenario it is, like, it is about knowing your worth, knowing your value, and it also is about positioning, right? Understanding what's important to that company or that client, and what are they wanting, what are they looking to get out of this hire or this engagement, and positioning your ask within that, like, make it juicy, make it attractive for them. And to me, then the ask or the number doesn't actually feel that big, right? It can feel like very reasonable. But I think, again, when I think about people that I work with, I think that's something I should do a workshop on this. But I think that's something that we struggle with, right? Is being able to see it from that other person's point of view, and kind of put some quantification on it to say, okay, well, I'm coming in here. You've told me that the 3 goals you want me to hit in the next 12 months look like ABC, right? Here's the impact that me achieving those things is going to have on the business. So an extra 5K, 10K, whatever the extra is, whatever the ask is, like, in the bigger scheme of things, is it really that much?
And it has to be a good fit for both ways, right? So that's the other thing that, as you were talking, I was like, oh, this is also similarity, right? Between a job, whether it's corporate or with a startup or whoever, and then a business, is that you want to work with people that want to work with you as well. So part of the negotiation is feeling that out. How do they approach it? What is it that they value?
Definitely. And I think sometimes too, we assume that they're going to automatically see that connection between what they're wanting and what I can bring to the table. But I think that's a false assumption to make. Like we've got to be explicit or intentional about closing that gap or creating that connection for them
Yeah.
and taking the lead on that. And to me, I think it's a skill that's something that's, we've got to practice to get better at it, to get more comfortable with it, to get the thought process around it clearer. But it's an invaluable skill. It could even come into play like you're buying a car or you're buying a house or, you're taking a vacation or whatever the case may be, where there's some kind of exchange or transaction. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
skill set and the same mindset and the same process or same approach that you would take. So
Yeah, if you want your kids to kind of hyper, I guess, fast track in life, put them in sales.
yeah, they'll figure it out real fast.
Yep.
Real quick.
I actually I did door-to-door
Oh,
sales
wow.
for 4
Oh,
years during
man.
college.
Oh, wow. That's brutal. Oh, gosh. Okay. I worked like cushy office jobs, but that's awesome. That's awesome. It's a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I mean it was like none other for sure. And I even remember my first negotiation for the
Mm-hmm.
first job that I had, and even my first internship. I realized how valuable that was to
Yeah.
have felt that, hey, you have a canvas, you have something that you talk through,
Mm-hmm.
that you're clear in your mind how you're going to approach that, and then there's leniency from there depending on who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's
Hmm.
that is interesting. I thought of something else as you were talking too.
Mm-hmm.
What was the last thing you said?
Negotiating a mortgage or buying a car.
Yeah, yeah. I think I was thinking about it that way, that it's a very transferable skill.
Mm-hmm.
The more you practice it, and even do it just for fun if you want to
Mm-hmm.
practice.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good tip. Like in what could feel like very low risk situations, like you want to get, I don't know, some extra fries in your in your combo, right? Whatever it is, but it's something that feels, like it doesn't matter if they say no kind of thing, but just with
Yeah.
the intention of just practicing and trying it. Why not? I
Mm-hmm.
think I might have to try that and I'll have to find a situation and see where I could test drive my skills and see if I still got it. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Ask for the manager.
Right? Why not? Why don't be afraid. That's too funny. Let's see. So I had one other thought here that I wanted to share too around um,
Okay.
that process of negotiation and continuing. It's not just that one offer or that one job. Really, I think one of the important things around upping your salary and being able to continue to grow your worth and your value over time is you've got to get comfortable with making career moves too, right? And I think we don't do ourselves favors when we stay in the same company or stay in the same job for really extended periods of time, because like I was saying before, you are sitting inside of a structure, right? And that structure, again, depending on the company, doesn't always have a lot of room, and you might over time get closer to the top of that ceiling, and then
Mm-hmm.
what? Right?
Yeah.
And then what? So I remember lots of times in my HR days, like we would red circle people who were at the top or sometimes over the top of the range, and your salary was then flat until you made a move or the range moved or something like that happened. And I think, the best way to really start to not only build your career, build your portfolio and your resume and your brand, but also to be able to build your income is you got to get comfortable making moves. Make moves every couple of years, right? And that's how you would get an extra 10, 15, 20K on top of your base so that it puts you in another kind of bracket for that negotiation for the next
Mm-hmm.
time. So I think that's an important consideration too, that it's not just a one-time thing. It's something that you repeat, I would say, every couple of years. Once you get what you need to get, you're on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really, really good point. And when you first said it as an owner,
Mm.
I thought, right, like I want
Mm-hmm.
to be able to keep, talent. But one of the first conversations I actually have with my employees is that I'm there for them.
Yeah.
Right? Like as a leader, you're like the biggest servant. Like that's your job
Mm-hmm.
is to serve. And so I think being there for them, and then there's some that do step up to the task
Mm-hmm.
of, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with her and see, like, and I tell them literally, like, tell me what your career goals are,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll get you there. Even if that doesn't mean it's in my company, right? If that means it's somewhere else, I'm happy to give you a referral. But the goal is everybody deserves to be in a career and in a job where they're exercising their core genius and they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that conversation with your leaders, like, I think we're like times are also changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generationally. You're just going to have different kinds of conversations with leaders about what the next step is. And now that we're working from home, what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, maybe you have less access because you're not stopping by their office, but you might have more access in that, we are dependent, like having a phone conversation is right. So you could have one, or you could email, or you could chat. So there's still ways to connect, to see what is the next step, how to not stay stagnant and
Mm-hmm.
move to the next level or the next. If you've plateaued and you've hit a place where you're like, I want to try something different, you should.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's especially early on in your career, I would say, I mean, anytime in your career, but early on, don't be afraid to experiment with different
Mm-hmm.
types of roles.
Yep.
And yeah, and get good at it,
Mm-hmm.
learn from it,
Mm-hmm.
and see what it is that you're really gravitating towards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Like we always have to be have that growth mindset, and I know having people leave really sucks, right? It's not fun, and I remember it happening to me lots of times when I was, leading teams, and it's not fun. And at the same time, you also want people who want to grow. Like it doesn't do your business any service, I don't think, to have someone, kind of plateau and just, they say, quit and stay, right? That doesn't help with innovation. It doesn't help with progressing your business and growing your business. So that's part of the deal. People who are growth minded and growth oriented, and who, because of that, they will be the ones to add that much more value in the time that they're there,
Yeah.
right? They will
Yeah.
add that much more value that it's worth it. I think it's really is worth it to have those people in your team, and
Yes.
have them maybe develop the next person, to take over their spot. Like that's what it's careers and work and business is all about.
I agree. And it's people like that you really, it's like, you get a car and you get a
Yeah,
car.
yeah. Everybody gets a car.
Like I'm always thinking of ways to really compensate that kind of initiative.
Yeah,
And yeah.
definitely. And it depends on what's important to that person. It's not always more money. It might be, but it could be other things or other ways of, I think maybe instead of thinking about it as how do I get more money, but it's how do I get rewarded in a way that feels great for me, right? Maybe it's extra time off, or maybe it's whatever the thing, maybe it's paying for my gym membership, or whatever it may be. And I think that's a thing that companies since the beginning of time have been trying to figure out, like from a retention and recognition, how do we set up our workplaces, our attraction practices, our hiring practices, our benefit, like all of those things that go into the value prop as a company we give an employee. How do we make it as rich and as attractive and keep it affordable for the business too? Like that's an important consideration there too. But
Yeah,
it's all of those different elements that come into play. Taking
definitely.
me back to my HR days, girl.
I'm hearing
Taking
it.
me back. It's important. It's good. Right? All of that matters. And companies know that, or good companies, I
Yeah.
should say, know that. And they will try to do the right thing. Not every company does, but the
Mhm.
good ones know that their differentiator is their talent, and they've got
So
to
true.
find ways to make that work.
So true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
I
go.
agree.
There you go. So, what else we got to say on this topic? I think we've been riffing for a minute. It's juicy.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments and we can go back and answer. But
I have a
you've
question
got,
to throw out to the people,
yeah.
if I may, is I'd be curious to know if for anybody watching live or watching the replay, is money your number one thing? Like if you're negotiating for something um, as part of your compensation package or part of a contract, whatever it is, what is the thing that makes it feel exciting and really attractive to you? Is it getting paid? Is it time? Is it something else altogether? Like what would that thing be for you? I'd be curious to know that. What would it be for you, Catherine? Is it a money thing or is it something else?
Um,
Hmm.
I'm kind of in a different position right now, but
Mm-hmm.
I would say throughout my career, it was money. That was like money and the environment.
Yeah.
So I always felt like I was interviewing them as much as they were interviewing me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was willing to negotiate on money. The other growth factors were there.
Yeah.
Like if I knew, for example, that I wanted to work at on a contract that was supporting NASA, I was probably going to say, you know what, this is okay for now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of the process
Mm-hmm.
of growth. So it was negotiable, but based on opportunities for growth.
Right, right. Yeah, that's good, and it's good to know that, and in different
Mm-hmm.
stages of our life or our career, different things might matter too. So
Mm-hmm.
that can change. So yeah, important to know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to know what people think. Maybe it's a flexible work schedule
Yep,
or
yep, yep. That
um,
was always a big one for me. Not so much the work schedule, but vacation, and being able to take lots and lots of time off. And I wanted to make good money too. Like that was definitely important, but I wouldn't take money without time, right? Like having both of those
mm-hmm.
things really mattered to me and still does. Um, so yeah, it's just knowing what your things are and then working it from there.
Mm-hmm. True, very true.
Excellent. Well, that's all
All
I got to
right,
say on all this.
this is our last
Yes.
All the Things series, guys.
Hmm.
Can you believe that?
No.
Um, wow. Well, let me see. What have I learned from this,
Hmm.
Cindy?
Do tell. Do tell. I'm intrigued.
I've learned that I felt like I learned a lot in terms of posting on social media. So I'm gonna be real,
Hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really done it a lot, and it felt so good to be able to share my experience through this medium, and to do it in conversation with you. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a huge plus. And so yeah, so thanks, Cindy. I
Mm.
definitely wouldn't have done it if it hadn't been
Mm.
for our collaboration.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, it definitely was fun. And I think that the cool thing was being able to do it in partnership for sure. I think made it feel easier and made it feel light and fun and easy. And I think let the conversation flow. So that I think has been awesome. And I think two other things. One is like we come from different professional worlds, and I think being able to blend those two things together and see similarities and see differences and bring those two things into one space. I think that's really cool.
Mhm.
And I had a third one my third one is just being of service and being able to share, things that I know and things that we've learned along the way to be able to help someone else make their journey a little bit easier. I think that's really made it fun too. So, yay, thank you.
Love that. Yeah, that was definitely one of my driving factors is I've had these conversations with friends, and in fact, you and I have these
Mm-hmm.
conversations offline.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just so cool to be able to expand that out to others that share our same experience, that can relate,
Mm-hmm.
or that we're just looking for that extra bit of, affirmation in their journey. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yay. Yay for all the things. It was just an experiment that was turned out to be pretty cool. So thank you for playing. Thank you for, maybe we'll be back one day. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think we'll put a period here and on to the next thing.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you
Yay.
so much. Thanks everyone for
Thanks for
watching.
being here, guys.
Any questions? Yeah, anything you want to contact us, you know how to do it. And yeah, I think anything you want to say in terms of what you're working on or what people look for.
Yeah, I think the thing that's my thing right now is HR office hours, which I've mentioned at the beginning of our conversation. But I'm hosting another edition of HR office hours on Thursday, this coming Thursday at 6 o'clock Eastern time. And what I've done in the last couple of sessions is just had kind of an open drop in. Let's talk about what's going on in your career, in your life as a leader, and help you to figure out whatever's keeping you stuck so that you can move forward and be that much better. It was just really an open conversation. This week, I'm focusing it in on helping people to identify the patterns that they have that keep them stuck. And so that's a theme that I saw in the first couple of sessions, and I think just generally with clients that I work with, is we have these patterns that play out, and we're not often aware that we have the patterns or that they're really the thing that's driving the results that we get. We just know we got this result and we're like, what is this? I don't want this. So that's what we're going to focus on Thursday. So go to, where do you go? You go to cindyharveyonline.com/office hours to sign up. That's what I'm up to.
Awesome.
How about for you? How can people find you?
So there are 3 ways. One is meet and greet, and it could be for a couple reasons. One, you have a project you need help with in engineering or in communities that have to do with energy and resilience and developing that. Or you're looking for a job. We're actually going to start interviewing for project managers and engineers. So if you're interested in having a conversation, we have a little bit of a different interviewing process because our business is not just about business. Like, people are very important to us, and all the heart that we bring into what we do. So feel free to get on the meet and greet calendar for a half-hour conversation, and we'll see where it goes from there. And the third is a roundtable. So we did one in October. We're going to do another one in November 13th. And we'll send the link once we have it ready. But for now, the roundtable is going to sort of be your board of advisors, impromptu conversations around things that you really need help with right now. And we'll go from there. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. I have just one last thing that I want to do. I want to give a shout out to Diana, who has been like our ride or die, our fan club president, who is like the rock star to the rock stars. So I don't think you've missed a beat here. So thank you so much for being here as consistently and supporting as you have. That's been awesome.
Yes, thank you, Diana. Cheers to you with my hot warm tea.
Woohoo! With my warm water. Yeah. But yeah, this has been fun. So we'll see you around, guys. We're here on the interwebs. Stay connected and be awesome. Go out there, let your light shine, and go do what you got to do out in this world. We need you. We need to see you, and we need your leadership. So go do your thing.
Yes. Lots of love, blessings, expansion for all of you.
Woohoo!
Hi.
All right. See
Bye.
you. Bye.